Hey guys, welcome to my Q&A. Thank you so much to everyone who asked a question, and let's go ahead and get started. So the first question is, do you have an archtop banjo? I do not have an archtop banjo. That's a little bit further down the line. I just recently got my first good quality flathead. Archtop is something that I'd like to get someday, but it'll probably be a little bit further down the road. Next question is, it's probably been asked already, how long have you played the banjo and how long did it take for you to sound properly good at it? I've been playing for 4 years. And it depends on what you mean by properly good at it. It probably took me about a month to get to where I could play a handful of tunes decently. And I mostly, whenever I was first starting, this is not a good way to do it, but I would focus on speed so much. And it's better to focus on technique and dynamics and just how you sound more so than speed. And for the longest time, I just focused on speed, and I was always decent at doing it fast, but I didn't sound great because I didn't worry about the dynamics and doing everything right. So I'm still nowhere near where I hope to be someday. You can even look back at my old videos. I feel like the first videos I posted just a little over a year ago, I think I've improved a lot since then. So I'm hoping that I'll just keep improving over the years. As long as I keep practicing, I should. So yeah, sounding decent on some songs took me probably a month, but like I said, I didn't worry about anything but speed back then, so they didn't sound great. But what 3 mandolin tunes would you recommend learning for a late beginner intermediate mandolin player to increase knowledge and adopt a diversity of new skills? Okay, so mandolin's a little bit different than banjo. With banjo, a lot of times you learn these tunes and they're played kind of standard the same way amongst beginners, and there's different licks that are commonly used in different tunes, and it's pretty much the same throughout it. With mandolin, most beginner stuff, you just learn how to play the basic melody with no extra stuff to spice it up. So from my understanding and in my experience, most mandolin stuff, it'll be just the same tunes, but just different ways to spice it up. So what I would do, I would just find 3 tunes that you like and look for an intermediate version of it, because that'll likely be centered around the melody, but also have some more licks and stuff in it to spice it up, so that'll help your playing. Next question is, how many instruments can you play? I play 5, the banjo, the guitar, the violin, the mandolin, and the bass. What was the first instrument you played, and how old were you when you started playing? First instrument I played was the guitar, and that was in 2014, so I was 11. Does anyone else play instruments in your family other than your sister? Yes, my younger brother plays the guitar and the violin. He's currently working out some mandolin tunes. And then my 2 younger sisters, they're 8 and 10, they play the violin. Do you need glasses? That's an interesting story. So, years back, I started noticing that I couldn't see very well out of my left eye, just super blurry. So my parents took me to the eye doctor, and we tried a bunch of different lenses there like they do when you go to the eye doctor, and none of them completely cleared it up. Some made it better than others, but it never got to where it was a huge noticeable difference. So anyway, the doctor gave me a prescription that fixed it as best as they could, but it never got to where it really looked any different. I'd take my glasses on and off and it always looked the same. My right eye was super dominant. I can open both eyes and everything looks fine, but if I'm only opening my left eye, it's really bad. So I'm just right eye dominant. So anyway, with both eyes open, I can see just fine, but I still wore the glasses for years, and my parents told me that whenever I'm 18, I can decide whether or not I wear them. So after I turned 18, I still wore them for a couple of months, but whenever I went to get my driver's license, I took the vision test. Obviously, my learner's permit, it had the restriction on it for the corrective lenses required. So earlier this year, whenever I got my driver's license, I took the vision test without my glasses to see if I could pass it. And it was super easy. I could see it just fine right away. So got that restriction off of my driver's license, and ever since then I've just stopped wearing the glasses because they really don't make that much of a difference. And I had a minor injury to my eye years ago, probably when I was like 8, and I'm thinking that that might be what's wrong with it, and that's why the lenses don't really correct it, but I'm not positive. Have you ever played in a band, and if not, why? I played in a band briefly, not like a serious band. We've played at some contra dances, I've mentioned that before. It's just this band, I play the banjo and the guitar, my sister plays the violin, we have someone on mandolin and someone on piano. And we play at these contra dances every now and then. We're planning to do another one pretty soon, but it wasn't like a serious band. As far as why I haven't actually joined a performing bluegrass band, I don't really know any other musicians in the area, so that's pretty much why. What is your favorite song to play on banjo? I really like playing Song for Susan. If y'all haven't heard that, you should look it up. It's really nice songs by Carl Jackson. And then also like Fireball Mail. That's a super common standard, but I love playing that one. And then guitar, that'd be Blackberry Blossom, and mandolin is probably Jerusalem Ridge. And what is your most requested song you play? That would probably be the Ballad of Jed Clampett on the banjo. Okay, next question is, what's the next banjo that you want to get? Also, eventually, what is the ultimate one for you that you'd like to own? Do you think you'll be happy to stay with one without ever getting another? Well, I really love the banjo. I'm only 19 years old, so I bet I probably will end up with other banjos eventually. But for now, there's not a specific one that I'm looking for. I just recently upgraded to my gold tone. That's a really nice, good quality banjo, but it's not top of the line, and I'm sure that someday I will want one that's more top of the line, like a Huber or a Gibson or something like that. So eventually, if I'm playing with a band and going around places, I probably will end up upgrading to one that's a little bit more high-end. But for now, that one, it's got all the components that I need. It sounds good, and it's pretty much perfect for me right now. So right now, I'm not worried about other banjos, though I'm sure I will get more someday. Who inspires you the most to keep playing and get better? I'm constantly watching YouTube jam videos, YouTube performances, and just every time I watch one and I see people who are far better than I am, it makes me want to keep playing, get better at my instruments. For banjo, it would probably be Ron Block. I've gotten to where I really love Ron Block. He's one of my favorites, if not my top favorite. And then Russ Carson, he is just so solid and smooth, and his backup choices, his improvisation, it's all awesome, so he inspires me to get better a lot. I also like Noam Pikelny, Bela Fleck. The style they play isn't really what I prefer as my favorite style anymore. It used to be, but nowadays I more prefer a more traditional sounding bluegrass. Like Ron Block, he's very progressive, but what he plays is just still super close to the bridge, very solidly connected to traditional bluegrass, so that's my favorite style, but I still like some of the stuff that the more progressive people play too. And then mandolin, Sierra Hull, she is super good, and my friend Caleb Ellis, he inspires me to get better. His tone and the way he plays is awesome, so go check out his channel. Every time I see someone who's a lot better than I am, it really makes me want to go and practice and get better. What is your favorite thing to eat? That would be arroz con pollo. I'm sure I said that all in a southern accent, not correct, but who cares? It's rice and chicken. When we go to Mexican restaurants, it's just rice, chicken mixed together with queso poured all over it, and it is good. It's simple, but it's awesome. And have you ever considered expanding outside of bluegrass? Well, that's an interesting question because I actually originally did not play bluegrass and I expanded into bluegrass. Whenever I started playing guitar back when I was 11, like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't really for a specific style. My teacher, he was super good. He could play anything. Whenever I was first learning, it was just the basic stuff, chords, simple tunes, stuff like that. And then as we went, I got to where I was preferring different things, and he kind of molded what he would teach me off of what I was preferring. And back then it was rock. Like, I really liked a lot of the Christian rock bands, and I would learn a lot of that stuff. Then I kind of got to where I didn't like that as much, and I started learning more contemporary Christian music that was a little bit softer, more acoustic. And then I heard Foggy Mountain Breakdown and started liking bluegrass, so learned banjo, learned some bluegrass guitar stuff. And nowadays bluegrass is pretty much all I play and listen to. I still like Third Day, but that's pretty much the only thing other than bluegrass that I still like. Bluegrass is my thing now. Have you looked at jazz and blues banjo and other scale-based styles? I have not looked at them in depth, but I've heard them a lot. I've learned a couple of licks like from Bela Fleck that are kind of scale-based, single string, but not in depth. My favorite is just traditional bluegrass. What songs would you suggest starting out with learning on banjo? Those would be Banjo in the Hollow, Cripple Creek, John Hardy, songs like that. I actually have a playlist on my channel called Beginner Banjo Songbook, and I have the different tutorials that I've made that are very beginner friendly in there, so you can go check that out. How easy is it playing a banjo? I consider it pretty easy. It's not super easy to learn, but it's nowhere near as hard as the fiddle. So I'll put it that way. It's not as hard as fiddle. It's not as hard as growing a YouTube channel. It's not too hard. It's just about like other instruments, maybe a little bit easier than some, a little bit harder than others. It just depends. This reminds me, I never did my Q&A. We'll go do your Q&A soon, Jacob. Everybody comment and tell Jacob to go do his Q&A. Have you ever considered moving to Texas, working for a lawn care company, and jamming for 8 hours a day? I've never considered it. Let me consider it for a minute. No. On the more serious side, which music festivals, jam camps would you like to go to in the future? I'd like to go to Galax. I was going to possibly go to SPBGMA. I know some people call it Spigma. I don't know if that's correct or not, but so I wanted to go to that. That's not going to work out this time, but hopefully I can go to it some year. And then I'd really like to go to IBMA sometime, and just any local festivals I can find I'd like to go to. Next question is, what's your favorite group you listen to? So a weird thing about me is I rarely have a top favorite with anything. It's usually several things that I really like, but right now I really like Allison Krauss and Union Station. I like the Purple Hulls. I like a lot of songs from Newgrass Revival. Also J.D. Crowe and the New South. So basically what I do, I just make my own playlists with YouTube stuff and put different songs that I like together, and it's usually a mix of those bands. How many banjos do you have and what brand are they? I currently have 3 banjos, a Rogue, an Ibanez, and a Gold Tone. The Gold Tone's the only one that I play as my main one because it's by far the best one. And here are a bunch of questions from my friend JB Mose. Y'all go subscribe to him. And what is your favorite thing to eat? I already answered that question earlier. And what is your favorite thing to do besides play instruments? Playing instruments is pretty much the only thing I like to do. That's what I do. That's what I enjoy doing. And I still hit baseballs a good bit. Like I mentioned in my last Q&A, I find that fun. Why would you say lawn care is the most sought after and distinguished career? Okay, so there's this weird thing in our society called peer pressure. And everybody hates their job. And everybody wants to be like everybody else, so they get into lawn care to make sure that they hate their job. And he was referencing an inside joke by asking that. I used to be in a group chat with him, and he's in lawn care, and we would joke with each other about it. So that was an inside joke with him asking that, so I answered it as an inside joke. There's nothing wrong with lawn care, I was joking. Why are you so good looking? I have no idea, it's probably genetic somewhere. What is your dream vehicle? I'm not really a vehicle enthusiast, probably just anything that's inexpensive and will last, which will probably be a Toyota, and I hope nobody hates me for saying that. Would you like more questions? Sure. Can banjo pickers who have no real knowledge of music, that is, scales, theory, fretboard memorization of notes, etc., still evolve to be indistinguishable from a picker who has all the knowledge about music? That's an interesting question. I would say yes and no. It depends on who you are, how you do it. You can learn stuff by ear and pick up how everything works over time, but it'll help you a lot if you learn the basic music theory, like chords, key signatures, time signatures, what will work over certain chords, what won't. It can be done without it by ear and just figuring it out over time, but it'll be significantly easier on you if you do learn the basic theory stuff. You don't have to get crazy far into music theory, just learning the basic stuff will help you. When you were little, what was your dream job? When I was little, I probably wanted to be everything from the president to a sewer inspector. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but I remember tons of things. When I was really little, I wanted to work at Toys R Us. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be just about everything. It was never anything consistent for more than about a day or two. Favorite time of year? That would be the time of year it is right now, just the fall, October, November. That's my favorite time of year. What is your favorite chord? That'd be the G chord, because in bluegrass, the G chord is just so friendly to everybody, so I like the G chord. Alright, and that is all the questions. Thank you so much to everybody who asked a question. I hope this was an informative and entertaining video. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and please consider subscribing before you leave, and I will see you next time.